Alright guys, Stocks by the Numbers, welcome back. I know I'm coming to you after market close, but I wanted to do a quick update here on AMC. We spoke about this one about 2 months ago. AMC Entertainment Holdings, ticker symbol AMC, listed here on the New York Stock Exchange. Stock closed $4.43, up about a third of a point, almost an 8% move here on the day. Snapping the 6-day losing streak, as you see. These are all the key headlines, of course, because in my opinion, it's almost as if the more a company struggles, the more they try to pump it, like with nonsense, right? It's like, oh, it just snapped a 6-day losing streak. And it's like, yeah, like, that's awesome, right? Very, very glad it's finally up. However, on the flip side, it was down for 6 days in a row, right? And you weren't, giving me updates or talking well about it then. But, any little positive note like that, all of a sudden someone puts out an article, they want to update you about it, and it just makes me laugh because when we looked at this, again, it was right around here. I have that note there. I'll get to it. But here you can see 1-for-10 split, middle of August, and you can see that's right on that news. That's exactly when the stock began chunking down. And then we pointed out that these lows were lining up with where the stock currently was. Yeah, see, I did the video right here, and I mentioned that we broke down and then we popped right back up to this this key level here. I think it was about 707 here. And I mentioned that this was the key level, and if the stock, breaks, it's going to continue to fall down and really fall off a cliff. And I mentioned that because they have such a high amount of debt, and of course they're coming off the reverse stock split, I mentioned that in my opinion, it will most likely reject and break the trend line and continue down to new lows. Because overall, again, you guys see, you're starting to see how I personally look at some of these companies. And again, I understand nobody's perfect. We don't always get them right. Sometimes we miss things. Sometimes we may see or expect or predict something to happen that, of course, doesn't come to fruition, or just simply the opposite happens. But, we work with what we have. We try to do what we try to do. But overall, again, just looking at a lot of the fundamentals, trying to notice, some of these key levels, drawing out some of these trend lines, trying to identify a pattern here or something. You know what I mean? Again, this is doing just a little bit of everything and trying to find, quote unquote, that perfect storm where everything just kind of lines up. And essentially, you can almost find no negative as to why the stock should not go higher. And obviously, those situations, it's the timing, of course, that is the most difficult, right? Because we can take a step back. We can look at a company like Microsoft and say, oh, yeah, that one will probably continue to grow. That's worth owning. It's like, yeah, of course. But at the same time, like, when is near perfect? When is a lot of these situations lining themselves up perfectly to all look attractive at the same time? When is the stock on a little bit of a sell-off or a dip so that we can buy at a potential fair value or potentially even undervalued price, right? That's what I say when I talk about the perfect storm. But again, we looked at a lot of the numbers here with AMC. There was a lot of bleeding and, again, a lot of debt. So, reverse stock split. So, again, we saw more negatives than positives, in my opinion, anyway. That's why I called it. But here, this is where the video was made. Again, bounced and broke. But, of course, you can see puts were mentioned since then in the Discord. Discord link in the description of every video. It's free. It's free. You guys come in. You want to talk about stocks. You want to talk about sports. I really don't care. You guys can come in and, we can just have a back and forth. Because the difference is a real community that looks for value, both undervalued situations that could grow over time, or of course just situations overall that have value on the back burner that could potentially develop into something, pretty extravagant. That's the point of the community, to have a back and forth and, obviously find the best situation. So, I see a lot of these Discords. I just see a lot of hate, people, they'll make a recommendation, they'll try to do something the best they can. And then, of course, people just jump on them if the situation does not turn out correct. And unfortunately, I'm talking about a lot of the children that, jump into these videos and these comment sections when we're talking about these specific stocks like AMC, the ones that the kids like to get trending on StockTwits and on Reddit, right? So, of course, I made the video. We got a handful of dislikes, of course, more than most any other videos or stocks that I talk about, right? Because when you talk about a brand name stock like a Coca-Cola or something that's fair or undervalued that might be worth putting on your watch list, that doesn't interest them. But, they went all in on a dying company, in my opinion, like AMC or GameStop, and now they're just hoping and praying that a big explosion takes place and they could eventually make, 500%, 1,000% returns. And listen, of course, it could happen, right? But at the end of the day, buying the dips and selling the rips, in my opinion, still works out well over the weeks, over the months, and over the years. But going off on a tangent, basically, long story short, I was right and the children were wrong, and I saved you about a 40% sell-off, almost a 50% drop, again, going from above 7 down to new lows of 401. So I have to pat myself on the back for that one. And basically, in the technicals, what I'm seeing here is, this is a 6-month chart, by the way, and you can see I guess, bounced off of that 4. However, at the same time, I'm not necessarily saying that the stock shouldn't have been up today, but an 8% run seems pretty extreme, but also at the same time, the markets did kind of just happen to randomly start to rally and explode later in the afternoon, so I guess that helped it out a little bit. But now that we came right back here, right? Stock hit 444, and you can see this fib right here, 445, right? So in my opinion, that'll be a key level to watch. But I have a feeling that now that it did have a good day and like it began trending again, and the kids got excited about it, I have a feeling that it's actually going to continue up and potentially try to retest this 20-day moving average here. I want to call it maybe about 4.75, and of course we have this fib lining up as well at around 471. So it's looking like around that price, in my opinion, that's where it could potentially rally to. But of course, it's all if it breaks above this fib at 445 first. But again, depending on what happens, I mean, we could run it back up here to this fib at 541. However, again, I have to remind you multiple situations that, again, the company has an extreme amount of debt, reverse stock split, and of course, if they do happen to get up to 541, well, you'll see here at the top of this candle, 542 it was. See, top of the screen, the O, the H, the L, the C. That is the open, the high, the low, the close. And you can see the H, the high, 542. This fib, 541, right? So that's why it could potentially break up and continue to climb higher. But if it does hit that 542 level and then stop, we may have a double top formed that will form and even not form, it'll cause, an even greater sell-off to take place. And then, in my opinion, the stock will dip down to even newer lows here at sub $4. So again, I know hearing this, a lot of people who stepped in, and again, I know I'm, kind of grouping everyone in, calling you guys, quote unquote, the children of, StockTwits and whatnot. And again, I apologize. I do. I apologize. But at the end of the day, we are seeing a lot of rewarding taking place in stocks that, in my opinion, do not deserve them. We're talking about, potentially a dying company like AMC, and if you talk bad about it, people try to bust your chops. Company like GameStop, I mentioned, I did, like a 40-minute video, right? I'm looking over everything. In my opinion, we had more negatives than positives. And of course, I mentioned that also, in my opinion, I'm not seeing anything really proprietary about GameStop locations, right? There's no real reason that you have to go to GameStop and give them your business. That's what I'm seeing, right? And, we make these observations, and just because it's not saying, oh, the stock is going to explode and it's going to 10x, everyone immediately says, nah, I don't like this guy, I'm going to downvote the video, I'm not going to watch any more of this guy's videos. But at the same time, what you should be doing is not dismissing. What you should be doing is keeping an open mind and just understanding what I'm trying to lay out, that that I'm seeing here in my mind on my screen. And whether you agree or not, it's good to keep all of this information in your mind when talking about a specific investment, because if it does really play out to where people are seeing that a company like GameStop or AMC, will eventually dwindle down, then what you can do is you can potentially wait for one of these nice spikes, these nice rallies, but you'll kind of know in the back of your mind, supposedly, that you probably should be taking the money and running on that situation, as opposed to holding and hoping for even more and more and more, right? And that's where I think a lot of traders and investors drop the ball here. So something like AMC, again, you want to step in here, you want to roll the dice down at $4, excuse me. It's entirely your own prerogative. It's your money. You make the call. But at the end of the day, if this thing explodes like back up here to this trend line at like 10.5, right? When we know that since the split, it's been, down and out, in my opinion, you have to take the money and run. Like that, you're talking what, like 150% return or something if that happens? And see, the issue is a lot of you hearing that might have just responded like, yeah, obviously, what do you think, I'm an idiot? Totally understandable. However, if you look at a lot of people's red situations, I feel like it's always a similar story. I bought in, everyone was talking about it, or I was expecting this to happen, that to happen. Then it happened. The stock exploded. Everyone thought it was going now to this price, but it just stopped and started selling off. And now I'm down like 40% long term. Like, should I sell? What do you think? Should I buy more? Just hold? What do you think? And see, that's the unfortunate situation, because that's what the old saying is. Bulls make money, bears make money, pigs get slaughtered. And that's the problem. If you're going to be a greedy pig with the situation, you may literally get handed a double or a triple on a trade or an investment that you may not have even deserved to begin with. However, you will continue to hold, kind of just stroking that ego, kind of saying that, convincing yourself that, oh, you're some, financial trading guru, you nailed it, you're a genius behind the curtain, and you know what other people don't know, and it's going to go even further. You're going to make, $500,000, 7 figures off of this trade. When at the end of the day, you literally just got handed potentially, free money that you probably may not even have deserved from day one, but you want more. You're not satisfied. And that's where the discipline aspect of trading and investing comes in, right? Something like Hershey, we did the video, stock was down at like 180. I said, like, in the shorter term, it'll probably most likely, slowly climb back up to 200. If you hold it longer term, you could probably more than likely, in my opinion, see 220 to 230, right? So it depends on how you want to play it as well. But at the same time, if you bought calls on Hershey, let's just say a couple of months out from when we first looked at it, stock was at 180, now it's up to the 190s. Like, now you need to know, like, if we hit like mid 190s, high 190s, like you have to know, in my opinion, now you have to get out, secure profits, take the money and run. And if you really do believe in the situation for the longer term and you want to play it again, what do? We buy the dips and we sell the rips. So a situation like this, AMC up almost 8% randomly today, in my opinion, this is not a day to buy calls. Because if I'm expecting a stock to grow and I want to buy shares, or if I'm expecting continued momentum and I want to buy calls and ride the wave, I would prefer to do it on a day when it's red, because everything would cost less. And again, I know a lot of people may say, yeah, thanks for telling me what I already know. But you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised at a lot of the mistakes the average person makes. And again, if we can just slowly get these experiences day by day, week by week, and we can slowly, just accumulate all of this knowledge, all of this advice, I'm telling you, within, a year's time, 2 years' time, your account and your trading, investing self will almost be unrecognizable. I'm telling you. But again, that's just my opinion. Everyone's different. Everyone has their own advice. But here, AMC again went off on a massive tangent. But this one overall, I personally still don't like it. And we can see the RSI was sub 30 for weeks and is still sitting at about 27. Looks like it was down to, like 17, 18. So again, it had a good day, but also at the same time, like, how much of it was real? That's the way I'm looking at it personally. But I will say we could potentially form a bullish hammer if we continue to climb here we can see the high 454. So if AMC regains that level or potentially goes higher and closes near the high, that would form a bullish hammer on the weekly, and that would possibly run it back up. That's why I'm saying we could potentially keep climbing off of this momentum into around like the mid fives, as I mentioned. And of course, depending on what happens after that and how it looks, we could potentially run up even to the mid Bollinger Band, maybe back up at 7. However, again, we're dealing with a pretty rocky situation here. So me personally, if I bought, in my eyes, what I feel is a crappy stock like AMC down at 4 and change, and the thing all of a sudden's at 7 and change, yeah, I'd probably sell it and secure those profits. But that's just my opinion. Here on the weekly, again, you can see this is right around the time the reverse split happened, around mid-August, and you can see the RSI just fell off a cliff and basically has consistently been 30 or sub 30 on the weekly for about 5 months now. So that's what I mean. I think, again, of course, they could potentially turn it around, but I just have a big feeling that anyone who was in this with size got out right here. But again, that's just my opinion, and that's what the comment section is for. So that's why I always say at the end of every video, if you know something I don't, if you read something I didn't, if you see something in the technicals lining up that I didn't mention or I perhaps interpreted incorrectly, let us know that in the comment section. Any questions, comments, or concerns, drop it down in the comments section. Like the video, thumbs up, algorithm, right? Helps me get more eyes on the channel. And of course, subscribe to the channel. That is our handshake agreement. That is how you help me help you. But more importantly, moving forward, like I always say, I understand that markets are very volatile, they're very rocky, they're very uncertain. So I want to wish all of you success. I hope everyone makes a couple of dollars. Thanks for stopping by. Catch you guys in the next one.